Hey guys, Jim here again to bring you guys an MMA 5-minute video. This time covering the UFC 178 main event that features one of the most anticipated rematches in UFC light heavyweight history, when current reigning and defending UFC light heavyweight champion Johnny Bones Jones puts his title on the line against the #1 contender and greatest challenge that he has faced thus far in Alexander the Mauler Gustafsson, in what should be a barn burner. I will give you guys a backstory to this fight, as well as a full fight breakdown of the two fighters and who I've ultimately winning and walking away with the UFC light heavyweight championship when it's all set and done in Las Vegas. Now, without further ado, let's get this thing started right about now. Jones, Gustafsson, 2. Now, this rivalry with Jones and Gustafsson began at UFC 165, where they fought in the best light heavyweight title fight of all time. And going into the fight, nobody was really giving Gus much of a chance to dethrone John Jones. I mean, despite the fact he had the physical attributes to match up well with John Jones. Nevertheless, when the fight got underway, he changed everybody's tune because he put on an unbelievable performance against the champion, the likes of which we've never seen before inside the octagon, because he was able to close the distance on John, connect faster with his hands, and really mark up the champ, cut him under the eye, have both of his eyes. Plus, he was able to take John Jones down in the very first round, trip him in the second, as well as stuff 11 of John's 12 takedown attempts. And John really had to reach down deep inside to pull off this victory, because he was in a real firefight this time around, and he couldn't do his usual, keep a guy at a distance, strike him from a distance, take him down, bloody him up type of fight. That being said, when all seemed lost in that fourth round, he was able to steal it by catching Gus off with that spinning elbow, and then just start teeing off from there, busting him open against the cage, and nearly had him finished. Following that, in the 5th round, he finally, on his 10th attempt, was able to successfully take Gustafsson down. Furthermore, with Gustafsson slowing down, John was able to take that round as well because he was the busier of the two. Moving on, once the fight was over, the question was who's going to walk out of the Air Canada Center as the UFC light heavyweight champion. Was it going to be Jones retaining, or was it going to be Gustafsson dethroning the champion? Well, the judges rendered their decision, and it was unanimous for Johnny Bones Jones to retain his championship, as well as break the UFC light heavyweight title defense record with 6 successful title defenses. But at the same time, there was also a silver lining in defeat for Alexander Gustafsson as well, because that performance he turned in against John Jones, that was so awesome and humanizing to the champion. It not only made him a star, but it warranted a demand for an immediate rematch. However, an immediate rematch was not to be right after the fight, since the champion John Jones opted instead to face Teixeira at UFC 172 for the light heavyweight title. while Alex was paired up with rising contender Jimi Manuwa in London. All things considered, if both guys won their respective bouts, the rematch would be on and set for a future UFC pay-per-view event. For Gustafsson's part, when he went in there against Jimi Manuwa, he took him down in the first round and, controlled the fight on the ground until he stood back up again. Then in the second round, he put it together, he back Manuwa up, start connecting and teeing off with punches and knees, and then start scoring those uppercuts and knocked his ass out. Thus, with that victory, Alex punched his ticket to the light heavyweight championship. Now, the only thing left was for John to collect his ticket by defeating Glover Teixeira at UFC 172. And that's exactly what he did when him and Glover finally locked horns at UFC 172 for the title. He went in there, he outclassed him, dominated him on the feet, took him down 3 times. Along with that, he knocked out his mouthpiece on several occasions throughout the fight, cut him up, go on the line of fire, and still beat Glover at his own game. Bottom line, Jon Jones outworked Glover Teixeira for 5 rounds via unanimous decision. As a result, they're both destined to do battle at UFC 178 this fall in Vegas. Likewise, heading into this fight, the question is Jon Jones going to make the adjustments and make a statement and decimate Alexander Gustafsson? Or will Alexander Gustafsson go out there, not leave in the hands of the judges, and finish Jon Jones to become the new light heavyweight champion of the world? The answer to that question will be coming up next. Now, when breaking down these two fighters and our little tale of the tape here, Alexander Gustafsson has the height advantage. He's 6'5", Jon Jones is 6'4". Jon Jones has the reach advantage at 84 to 79, but Alexander can close the distance on Jon Jones, so there we go. That being said, Jon Jones takes the cardio advantage over Gustafsson, most definitely. Jon Jones has been in the championship rounds more times than Alex has. Secondly, he recovers better than Alex, because Alex was starting to get tired in the 3rd round of their fight, and he was starting to slow down in the 4th and the 5th, despite his great offense. Don't get me wrong, Alex has good cardio, but Jon's is just so much better. Looking at the skills, when it comes to striking, Alexander has the better boxing as well as footwork, because he was able to get in and out on him, get his punches in quicker, far more effective. He was able to cut him up under the eye and bust him up, whereas Jon had the advantage in the kicking department, because Jon was able to score it was low, like with the elliptical kick to the thigh, or going high with the high kicks to the head. More importantly, he almost finished Alex in the 4th round when he started landing with those elbows and those knees. The stand-up is a toss-up here. All things considered, to slightly give the striking advantage to Jon, he does have a lot more techniques. Gustafsson has the better boxing, yes, but Jon has the more versatile stand-up game. Now, onward to the wrestling. Before they fought at UFC 165, I would have said the wrestling goes to Jon Jones all day. He's going to take Alex down, and that's the end of it. But in the fight, Alex showed that he can defend Jon's takedowns very well, because he was able to fend off 11 of Jon's 12 takedown attempts throughout the fight. But John eventually did get him down on his 10th attempt. So it's pretty much like one takedown a piece. I'm going to say the wrestling is about even. The BJJ aspect of this fight is very interesting. John Jones is a white belt in BJJ, and Gustafsson is a purple belt. However, John has way more submission victories in mixed martial arts than Gustafsson does, period. He has 6, Gus has 3, and John has submitted black belts, mind you. He's never been submitted, ever. Gus has been. Oh, Gus has the higher ranking. I say John is a much better finisher on the ground. He takes the submission grappling, no question. Switching gears to the game plans heading into this rematch. Now, if John Jones wants to win this fight, then he's got to do what he said in the UFC 165 post-fight interviews, which is to be like water and use a lot more versatility and creativity to put this guy away. So that means oblique kicks to those knees all day. We got to slow him down. In addition to that, some low roundhouses to the front and the side of the leg, as well as some elliptical kicks to the thigh. And we got to go high for the head kick. A lot of feints. I can't stretch that enough. When he thinks you're going to go for a punch, you need to strike him with the jabbing elbow. You know, get his timing right for that spinning elbow, as well as spinning back kick. He's within range. But you gotta be careful with that because he could very well, you know, score counter. So that has to be timed very meticulously. And from there, push him against the fence in the clinch. Don't worry about taking him down so much. Throw that knee straight to the liver and take the wind out of Gus, as well as dig it straight into his solar plexus. Tenderize him with elbows and punches. And then once he's weakened enough, then try to take him down. Past the guard. Lay in the heavy ground and pound and elbows and slice and dice him. And either go to the side mount, hit a Kimura, or a guillotine choke and choke him out. Or if it's there, take his back and slap choke. Get the body scissors in, crank it, and tap him out. More or less, for John to win this fight, he needs to guard when he attacks and attack when he guards. Anticipate Gus's movements and respond accordingly. And if you can't get the punches off quick enough, go for a kick. If you can't get the kicks fast off enough, go for the punches, the elbows. And when taking him down, you got to weaken him up first, change up the setups for your takedowns, and keep him guessing. Be creative, outwork him, and score the unanimous decision, or get him via submission. You know, for Gustafsson, it's all about sprawling and brawling, defending John's takedowns, making him pay for each and every attempt, and changing up his combinations, and using a lot of full volume punches, and instead of just going his jab and going over with a hook, he needs to mix in some flicker jabs, as well as come over with an overhand when you have him distracted. Pace yourself in every round. Change up your footwork and hit him from different angles. Check John's kicks and catch them as well, and or use it to take him down. Besides that, fire back with your own kicks. Worst case scenario, if he finds himself on the bottom, he's gonna hip escape and wall walk and get back up to the feet. And once you get back up, corner him against the cage with a front kick. You know, he's got to connect clean. He's got to go from right to left with his shots. You know, mix it in with an uppercut. and a knee. Run some glancing blows to open up a cut under John's forehead or under his eyes, and just keep teeing off on that wound repeatedly until it opens up so deep and it's bleeding so much to the point where the ref stops the fight and you pick up the victory via TKO and cuts. Now, when analyzing everything and taking everything into account for this fight, as far as the odds go, it's 60% for John and 40% for Gustafsson. You know, while Alex was able to rough up John, stuff his takedowns, and mark his face up in the first merry-go-round, he won't have his number this time around. I just think he's going to be too slick, too versatile, and right on the money on his ass, because he's going to take away Alex's base with a variety of kicks. And when Alex is getting in close, he's going to push him up against the cage in the clinch to smother his striking. And on the feet, he's going to use a lot more head movement, a lot more bobbing and weaving to evade his shots and counter. Above all, he runs out of gas. John's going to take more command of this fight and finish him in the championship rounds. Just via submission. Therefore, my official prediction for this fight is that Jon Jones will retain his championship and defeat Alexander Gustafsson in his 8th successful title defense. And next up for him is another lethal threat to his championship in undefeated Olympic wrestler and former Strikeforce heavyweight Grand Prix winner, Daniel DC Cormier. As far as Alexander Gustafsson is concerned, this won't be the last time you see him fighting for a world title. Because believe me, someday he will be the world champion at light heavyweight. Jon Jones is ready to step down as champion and go up to heavyweight. Alex will be the man at 205. Anyways, this will do it for this fight prediction, people. I'll see you guys for the next one. Jim, signing off.